Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said well. I've been better, but as many of you know, as I've been sharing with you for the last couple of weeks, just want to give you guys a little bit of an update, a little bit of news, and just things that are going on. And the first one being that, I shared with you guys a couple of weeks ago that a very good friend of mine, William Mancha, told me that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And when he was diagnosed with it, they basically told him that it looked like his colon was severely covered in dark spots and his kidney as well. And so we all knew, I think, that it was going to be a tough road ahead. He knew that, but he has always been one of the toughest people I know, and I just also one of the best people I know. So in my mind, I just kept thinking, Will can fight this, and Will's too good of a person for God to take early. And Will never, in the time that I've known him, has never done any drugs, has never smoked, occasional beer here or there, but definitely not even a daily thing or anything. So it's not like he abused himself with things that maybe would lead to some of the things that he's dealing with. It was all hereditary. And when I found out, of course, I dropped what I was doing and I flew out to Arkansas to be with him and hang out with him. And when I arrived there, I wasn't really sure. I had booked my ticket. I thought, going out there, maybe 4 or 5 days is a good time frame. But I was also thinking, this is stage 4 cancer. Maybe leaving an open-ended ticket and just going out there and seeing how things are going would be a good idea. Maybe they could use my help. And so originally I booked a ticket for 5 days that I would have been able to change if I needed to. So I flew out there and arrived about 8:30 and immediately texted him and said, "Hey, I'm here." So he said, "Come on over." He hadn't been able to sleep. And so I immediately started hanging out with him, and every single day I would basically show up the moment he woke up, and I would leave about 8 or 9 p.m. at night. And he seemed to be doing well. For those days, I didn't see, there was pain, but most of it seemed like it was discomfort, if anything. He had started chemotherapy right before I came, and they had also given him a blood transfusion, and he told me that he was really feeling great after the blood transfusion, that it made a big difference. But, I'd never seen him knocked down the way that he was when I was there. Like, I'd never seen him need other people. That's not something that Will ever really, he's the guy that everybody leans on. He's not the guy that asks to lean on other people. So it was kind of shocking to see. And Will also, I made a video with him talking to you guys in the video. Will's one of my biggest supporters. He knew me when I struggled before I was ever doing this channel, when I had night jobs and just did all kinds of weird things to make ends meet. And when I started this channel, he took on a new job. He had a day job at a Honda dealership, and then he took on a night job doing security. And he had a lot of time at night, so he would watch my vlogs. So he loved what I was doing. He would share them with the residents that in the building that it was all basically like USC students. He would share my videos with them and things like that. So he always kept up. Even when I first showed up to visit him, he said, "You know what I learned from you recently? I didn't know Daniel Tiger was a spin-off of Mr. Rogers." And I'm like, "That's what you were watching recently?" He goes, "Yeah." So when I was there, we had a great time. Every day we hung out. He wasn't sleeping all day or anything. He was pretty much awake most of the time, hanging out. And I was really feeling positive. He really seemed like he was doing great. And even the last day that I was there, from the time I showed up till the time I left, we watched every baseball movie that you can think of. We just kept naming off movies, and that would be the next one. We probably watched 7 baseball movies together, which was very fitting because of our life was so much wrapped up in baseball from the time that we, met and everything. And also this hat, it's a Montgomery Biscuits hat, but Will was His name was William Mancha, and Will always loved things that had like hats or logos that had an M because of his last name. So I had wore this especially knowing that he would ask me about it, and sure enough he did. He said, "What's your hat?" And I told him what it was, and I said, "I want to buy you one." So I opened up their website and showed him all the options and everything, and I said, "Pick one out. Just pick one, anything you want out, and I'll buy it and send it here." So he looked at everything they had, and of course he said, "I want the same hat you have." So I ordered it for him, and ordered it the last day that I was there, and he seemed really good, man. Like I said, I was really positive. I was like, he's a tough guy. He's got a very tough constitution, and he's just a good guy. And in my heart, I just wanted to say that, you know, like, God knows that his family needs him, and that he will make sure that he's okay. And so when my trip came to an end, when those 5 days came to an end, I actually felt like, hey, like, he's doing well. Maybe it's time for me to go back and let his family have time with him. Even when I left, he said that another friend of his was going to be flying out in like 2 or 3 days to visit with his dad. So I was like, okay, he has constant people coming in. That's awesome. That's, you know, in this situation, that's really like, you know, what we need. And he told me in confidence, when we filmed that little piece together, that was actually like the last day that I was there, and I just didn't put any videos out until I filmed that with him, because one, I didn't know if he would want to film anything, but two, I kind of knew he would. Knowing him, I knew that he would want to leave something behind like that, or at least say something to, like, he wanted to thank people for all the prayers. I mean, that was one thing I told him. I said, I got a ton of people praying for you, because he didn't want to tell people at first what was going on about his illness and everything, because what he told me, I didn't want to disrupt anyone's holidays. I didn't want to disrupt anyone's lives. I didn't want this to be what they remembered about Christmas, is, you know, me telling them that I had this and stuff. And so, you know, we were kind of reflecting, and we were sitting there and everything. I said, "Do you want to film something and just say something?" He goes, "Yeah, I do." I said to him, I said, "Will, no matter what happens, the one thing I love about you, dude, is that if you wanted to go to a game, you went. If you wanted to ride a motorcycle, you rode it. If you wanted to go on a trip and see something, you went." He didn't let any, like, moss grow under his feet. If he lived life, he took the opportunities to take cross-country trips with his family in the car. I mean, in fact, I remember when they moved from California to Arkansas, he drove them all there, making stops along the way, and then as soon as they got there, they unloaded their stuff, and he piled everyone back in the car and took off to Florida and wanted to show them all Florida and go around Florida. And Scott Michaels and I happened to be in Florida at the time, but Will was texting me from like Tampa, and we were in Miami, so we just missed each other. He reminded me of that when I was there. I was like, "Oh man, it's too bad we never got to like go to do spring training in Florida, because we went to so many years of spring training in Phoenix. You know, we got to do that in the future." And he's like, "I tried to. I contacted you, or you were across the state." So anyway, when I left, he seemed to be doing well. And then that night, when I came home, my girlfriend was getting off of work, and she had sent me a text and said, "Hey, let's talk." Well, we always talk, but she was getting off work, and she's like, "Hey, I'll be off in just a couple of minutes if you're available." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So just as I'm waiting for her to call, I see Will's calling in on FaceTime, and I didn't answer it. And this will like kill me. You know, and I hope, you know, I know she doesn't feel guilty. I've told her, I said, "Don't feel guilty." It's just like 2 or 3 days before I went on my trip, she had said, "Oh, I'll call you at this time." And then I got another call, and for some reason it didn't beep in. And I felt really bad, because she thought maybe I was missing the call, or, you know, I was ignoring or whatever. And I was like, "Oh no, I was on the phone with someone else." It was like a random, it was actually Dale Torborg, the demon from Kiss. He was inviting me to go to the podcast that I filmed and vlogged. So, but my thought was, well, I'll talk to her and then I'll call him back, because he never FaceTimes. He's always like a texting person. So I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe he's awake and he's just, you know, wants to catch up or whatever. Because like I said, this was the night that I came home. And so, well, I mean, I came back to where all my stuff was and everything, where I had, jaw was being washed and everything. My car was there. So I saw that he was calling, and then she called in while he was calling. So I talked to her, and then I tried to call him back and he didn't answer. And I was like, Will's not the kind of person to get, like, for lack of a better term, butthurt. He's not the kind of person to not answer your call because you missed his call. Especially with me, because everybody that knows me knows that the volume on my phone is never on. Just because I make videos, I never have the ringers on. When I get text messages, I never have any notification on. If I'm not holding it and feeling it vibrate or seeing it, I don't know. So, like I said, I tried to call him back, and I got no response. And so I sent him a message. I said, hey, hit me up when you're free. And then the next day, it went by, and I'm like, can't believe he hasn't texted back. So I texted him again, hey, buddy, how you feeling today? And I got no response. And then so I did it one more time. Third day, sent him a message. Hey, man, I hope you're not upset at me. How are you feeling today? Again, no response. And I was like, he was like great when I left, so what the heck, you know? So I text his wife Sylvia, and I say, hey Sylvia, is everything okay? I've been texting Will and I'm not getting any response. And she replied to me and said, Jordan, he went back into the hospital. I had flown out at like 8 a.m. She said the day that you flew out, he ended up back in the hospital. And he probably tried to call you because she said he decided when he went back in to shut his phone off. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I was like, oh, because I had told him when I left, I said, things get bad or whatever, if you need me, or just if you know, whatever, if you just want me to come back and visit, just say the word and I'll work on it. I'll make my way back. And so he was like, okay. So anyway, she said, yeah, he turned off his phone, and it was looking bad for a couple of days, but I think we've turned a corner. And I was like, oh, thank God, because, you know, I had, my dad had cancer, and he was able to get it to go into remission, and when when I probably thought he wasn't going to make it, he managed to survive and lived another couple of years, and then actually had it come back in a different part of his body. So between knowing that how long it lasted in my dad, and then I had been reading Patrick Swayze's book, and he was talking about when he was diagnosed and how, you know, he was like writing the book a year later, so he had been battling it for at least a year. And I was thinking, you know, he can do this, because they always say, you know, when I was there hanging out with him, one of the things that he said to me is like, do you know anybody that has cancer that's beat it? And like, it was crazy because off the top of my head, I couldn't really think of anybody, but as we were talking, I opened up my Facebook, and a friend of mine literally that day had posted a photo, and it said, today I'm 100% cancer free. And I showed him, I go, Will, look, this guy, I remember he started chemo like a couple months ago, and he's saying he's totally clear today. He's like, well, I'm treatable, but I'm not curable. But that's like, he was really optimistic and everything. So, so she said, you know, we think we've turned a corner and everything. I said, keep me posted. And it was like another 2 days went by, and I texted and asked how he was doing, and I got a response I was not expecting, which was that Sylvia said his organs are starting to fail, and the doctors have given us a prognosis, and it's not good. And I didn't really know what to do, because I know Will pretty well. And the same guy that didn't want to tell his friends that he had this, and didn't, you know, and then also shut off his phone. I couldn't, in my mind, battle the idea of whether he would want me there or whether he would not want me there because he wouldn't want me to see him that way. So I just kind of thought about it, and then I noticed that some of his family were posting photos at the hospital with him, and I knew he had a lot of family there visiting him. And then she said, you know, his organs are failing, and it's not looking good. And the next morning I woke up and saw that she was posting that it was his birthday. It was his 46th birthday, and he basically was being given like an imminent death, you know, like they were saying that we're not going to be able to do anything. And knowing, you know, I just thought, you know, she texted me and she said, Jordan, he's not right now at all the way you saw him when you were here. And I think that was her way of saying like he wouldn't want you to see him this way. She said, I said, is he aware of what's going on? She said, yeah, he's somewhat aware, and his speech is slurred and everything. And it's his birthday on Monday, and then it was my girlfriend's birthday on Tuesday. And I figured, you know, after her birthday, I'll contact them again, and maybe that's when I should go out and see him. And because I felt like if I went, I was certainly saying goodbye, but something inside me felt like if I didn't ask, as long as I didn't get the call saying that he was gone, there was still hope. So I waited another day, and then I was getting ready to text Sylvia. I hadn't heard anything for a day, and I was getting ready to text her, and again, something just stopped me in my tracks, and I just said, like, as long as you don't ask, he's still alive, you know? And then about literally like an hour later from when that had hit me, I literally had taken a little nap, and when I had woken up, I had woken up at like what would have been 6:10. I'd set an hour alarm, and so it would have been 6:10 Florida time, 5:10 Arkansas time, and I was sitting there thinking I should text her, but I'm afraid she's gonna say, you know, like, I knew what she was gonna say, and ironically, somebody had texted me about an hour later and said, how's everything going? And just as I was getting ready to respond to them, everything's going okay, my phone rang, and I saw that it was Sylvia's name on the phone, and I knew what that phone call was. And so sadly, you know, I wanted to thank you guys all for your prayers, as he would have. He was very grateful. He never, people messaged me, and you know, when I made that video saying, is there like a GoFundMe or something that we can help with his, he would never have allowed that. So it was wonderful of all of you to care, but Will did pass away. February 10th, within 4 days after his 46th birthday, he passed away with about 20 of his family with him. So, like, I'm really sad to report it, but it meant a lot to him that so many people cared to pray for him. Like, he told me that. He said, you know, like, he said, the only thing I got right now, man, is prayer. So the more people that can pray for me, the better. He said, I just leave it, you know, in God's hands, and, you know, whatever he wants is what it's going to be. And people have, you know, made comments and said, you know, at least he's not in pain. It's like, most times I would agree with you and say, yeah, it's like, at least he's not in pain anymore. But I know him so well that he would have been gladly in pain for the rest of his life just to be able to be alive. He would have put up with any kind of pain to be able to see, you know, his family. and you know, he was the very much the patriarch of his family. For everyone, even his cousins, he was a father to his cousins, even though he was, you know, only like 4 or 5 years older than them. He was their father figure, and they were all there. And I just, in the end, I kind of asked myself, should I have been there or not? And I just, in my heart, I felt like it was a place that his family deserved to be with him and say goodbye. And we had, you know, those 5 great days that were like perfect. And I almost looked at it like that was maybe how God wanted me to remember him. You know, it was the days that we could talk and laugh, and you know, he was crazy. Will was the kind of guy that, like, if you were going anywhere, you knew he had your back. Like, if a fight broke out, he was gonna step in front of you to stop the fight for you. You know, he was just that kind of guy. So I can't imagine what his family will do without him. But you know, luckily Sylvia is, and always has been since I met her, one of the strongest people I know. And she, I could tell right out, she was heartbroken, but at the same time, she wasn't falling into a depression. That's not her. So I think it made me feel better. The next day, she posted a photo of Will on his motorcycle, like riding away, which was like, you know, that was Will. He loved to be on his bike. And she said he went to join God at 5:15 on February 10th. And she posted a bunch of photos of him, and then the next day she just simply posted something that said, "I still feel like you left too soon, but heaven's lucky to have you, and so was I." So he was well loved, and he lived a good life. So I just wanted to thank you all and give you all an update on that. At the same rate, it kind of got me thinking how, if you know, I always go out of my way to live my life the way that I want, and I sometimes, you know, vlog things that people that, you know, predominantly that subscribe to me want to see Hollywood actors and grave sites. And you know, occasionally I choose to do a theme park or some small roadside attraction or a wrestling event or whatever. And the reason I do that is because even though this channel is how I make my living, I also recognize that living the life that makes you happy is more important. And so I want to, or we've decided that, you know, in the future, when my girlfriend and I go off and do vlogs, she said she wants to be in them with me now. She's a really funny, she's very witty, so she's very funny, and she's very fun to be around, and she's very lovable. And I'm just thinking about, you know, my life and our life together, and just knowing that, you know, if something were to happen to me, like passing away at 46, I'm 41 now, going on 42, I think. And so I just think if something happened to me, those are the memories, those are the videos I want to leave behind. Not so much going to some Hollywood star's home or a grave or something, but I want to be able to have those videos that she can look back on, and other people. And so that is something that we're going to do in the future. But I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an update because you know, people are drawn to, I think, you know, especially on YouTube, sometimes you start watching a person because you enjoy their escapades and where they're going, but then it becomes you care about the person, the YouTuber. And I think sometimes for the safety of us YouTubers, we try and not share a lot of our personal life, but as the viewers, I think a lot of times very curious about what we go through in our lives, when a lot of times everything looks like it's perfect and peachy. Sometimes you want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And so, you know, my grandpa's fine. People always ask about him. In fact, he sent me a text today. I was laughing. he was at the post office in his town, and some young kid had a Hellcat, and my grandpa was stopping him and asking him about the Hellcat and how fast it would go, and the kid said that it got up to 170, and we were joking with my grandpa that maybe he needs a new car. So he's doing great. I just wanted to give everybody an update because, again, like I said, Will was very thankful that so many people prayed for him, and I was very thankful that I was able to have a platform, thanks to all of you guys that watch, that were able to kind of pull together. And I mean, who knows, even though he didn't make it, I think he made it 6 to 8 weeks after his diagnosis. Who knows how much longer that prayer kept him around for. You know, that might have been what kept him for another couple of weeks. So I just wanted to thank all of you guys for caring about my life and about my friends, and hopefully you'll look around your life and just kind of attack what it is that what you enjoy in life, and make that the dominant thing in your life. Because in the end, you know, we just never know when our last day is. And you know what, that was one of the things that Will told me right before I left. He said he didn't have any regrets. He felt like he lived a good life his way, and he brought good people into it. And I feel like in the end, that's really all that matters. Now, I don't know what his wishes were for his grave, or if he even wanted one. You know, with him, I don't know. I don't know if he would want his ashes scattered, if he would want them to be at his family's home, if he would want to be buried in Arkansas or California. I really don't know, and it's a little too early for me to want to ask. I try and keep up with Sylvia every other day and just ask her, you know, tell her I'm thinking about them, and if I can do anything or contribute financially to anything for his burial, or just anything, or for them, anything, to let me know. And it was nice to hear that she told me yesterday that her family is out visiting and keeping them company right now in this time. So thank you all for helping and pulling together for Will. He was a good guy. I was thinking about it. I don't know if I can ever go to Dodger Stadium again without him. That's when I think of Dodger Stadium, it's like this tattoo that I have, this 301 that you see there. That's our friendship. Was his seats were 303 and mine were 301, and that's where like our friendship really like became solid. So, and we were laughing about, it's like, we're such good friends. We've known each other for 15 years, and from the day that we met till the day he passed, we never had an argument. We never had a crossword. We never had a nothing. We never did anything but get along great. And it's really rare that you find those kind of friends in your life that just, you know, you never have any misunderstandings, and you never have any doubts about who they are. He invited me and made me a part of his family for many many of his kids' birthdays, his nieces' birthdays, Easters, just anything that I was in town for. That he was even, he was reminding me, he goes, remember that year I invited you to our house for Easter and you showed up a week early? You came knocking on our door and you're like, hey, where's everybody? And I'm like, what are you doing here? So, yeah. Enjoy your friends, love them while you can, and love your family while you can. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.